Hello, good morning, and welcome back to another episode of 100 Days of Code with me, Lily Code. Today we are continuing on with our 100 Days of Code experiment. No, a challenge. It's a challenge. So we're continuing on with our challenge, and we're on day 72, and we're continuing with Sean Wassells' Learn React for Modern Applications course, which is on O'Reilly. It's very short, 5 hours. Learning a lot so far, really liking the pace, really liking the layout. So let's continue. So I'm just going to come up here and get my terminal fired up. I mean, really, should probably do this before I start, but just let's get in here and get it done. Yeah, because I want to show you, I got something arrived in the mail today. So I ordered this book from Book Depository, You Are the Placebo by Joe Dispenza. If anybody's like, I don't know, I'm just really interested in like the brain and how to make it function to its best capacity and just how to help yourself. There's tricks of the brain and tricks of memory and tricks of everything. And when you learn those tricks, things are just easier. So anyway, I got this book. It's not huge, but it's big enough. And I haven't been having loads of time to read lately. So who knows when I'll actually finish it. Here you go. Who knows when I'll actually get around to, it might take me a while to finish it, given the time I'm giving myself for reading. I should probably just, reading is something I love so much that if you like something and it's something, good, if you like eating, cookies, I love that too. But maybe you have to put a limit on that, but you don't really have to put a limit on reading. Anyway, I'll let you know how it goes. I'll do a book review when I'm finished. I just don't know when that might be. So if it's going to be helpful, if it's relevant to the channel, if I get into it and I'm like, even still, if you want to know about the book, let me know. I will still do a book review. So, yeah, there you go. Very excited when the postman came today. I was like, hello, Kevin. Delighted to see him. So great. And let's continue. So we have our project fired up here, and what we're doing at the moment is we're styling components in React. And the way we're styling these components is we're using an import. So yesterday an imported package called styled components, because yesterday I did show you how we can do it my preferred way. Maybe Sean will get into this or maybe not, I'm not sure yet. But if we do the dot module on your CSS file, then you can import it with a name. So here we can see we've imported styles from people list item .module.css. Am I talking too quickly? Then we can import it from people list module. And then if we come down here, we can see we just use class name. You give the name that you imported your your module.css file as. This needs to be a .module.css to use it like this by referring to the whole file with a given name, whatever name you choose. Could be styles, could be classes, could be my people list item classes, CSS styles. I just tend to use styles or classes, and then you can access all of the different CSS classes in that file with the dot notation. So check out yesterday's video if you want to see me going through that and explaining it as I go. And now we're going to loads more. We went through loops, we went through a whole bunch of stuff yesterday, and we continued passing props. So it's got a really nice pace, this course. I'm quite enjoying it. So now what we're going to do is import this new project, this new package. So new terminal, and down here we're going to say npm install. It was called styled components. Styled components. And then this allows us to style our components within this project. But let's wait and see, because I don't really use this. I don't think. Yeah, cool. Cool, so now we have the styled components package installed. And now we can write CSS within our JavaScript components. That's what it gives us the ability to do. So I'll just close everything down for a moment. So close all and just open up our people list item because it was getting a bit messy up there on top. And we want to keep it clean and serene, so sheen. Yep. Cool. Okay, cool. So now we can actually use this styled components. So we can import, this is just coming from the package that we've just installed. So import styled from styled components. There you go. And just add our semicolon and return, and then we're going to use this. So we'll create a wrapper div. So we'll say const wrapper is equal to styled dot div style.div, and then we open up our backticks. So these little ones, they're at the top of your keyboard or at the bottom of your keyboard. At the top of your keyboard, I think on a Windows, and then I think they're down at the bottom on a Mac. Yeah, they are. Yeah. So just on the very left side of your machine keyboard. So styled div, and then we can add in some styles in here. So the styles we will add is border 2 pixels border. I always add in the A and it's just incorrect. 2 pixels solid white. Coolaboola. And we'll add another CSS property in here, padding of 32 pixels. 32 px. Cool. And also, I'm going to do a CSS course soon. That might be on the cards. You know, do it with you guys. I want to get my CSS down. Sometimes trying to move like something simple or do something simple can take me a while, and that's just no good. So it's time to revisit the drawing board. I'll be looking into the box model, which is what the entire web page is based on. So I'll also be looking at that. And third, just my general tutorials and stuff. So, and the book review, just, you know, stay tuned. There's loads of good stuff coming. So do like and subscribe if you want more of me on your screen. Yay. Yeah, thanks guys. So this actually should have been in the people list. So I'm going to open this to the side. Yeah, like that. And just copy over this stuff because this should be in here. And then we will paste our import as well. So let's cut and paste this over here. Awesome. Let's close this down now. And now we can use our wrapper around our people.map. So it will give it this, you know, this visual. So, oh, mamma mia. If I just go back up there and then close it, because we need both an opening and a closing tag because we want to wrap our people list item and our map in this new styled components wrapper, which is a styled div that we've created. So this is just a div that has some styles attached inline. So there you go. Oh, wonderful. Still don't know where this is coming from, so let's check. There, that's where it's coming from. Okay, it wasn't in our list component. So we had an extra, let's just add some, we just had an extra semicolon here that's actually being rendered out, so it shouldn't have been there. And now we can see, okay, so it says HU. So if we just add in some stuff there, it comes up down here. So that's why we had this extra semicolon. There was a semicolon there and that's not needed. That was just being rendered out onto the screen. I was looking yesterday in the people list item for it. I was like, where is that semicolon? Oh, I don't really care. And gave up quite quickly because it didn't really affect anything. But it was coming from the parent item that's rendering the people list item. And it was at the bottom of that then. So that's where that semicolon was hiding on us. We found you. So yeah. Cool. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at inline styles, which is another possibility in React. So if we come to our app.js component and come down to where we were rendering our different items here, we can add a paragraph. And we can add some inline styles to this as well. So I'll just close the paragraph as well. And then we can just say style. This is great if you just want to test something out, if you're not really sure. But then you can always check it out just in your browser as well. But here we're actually adding an item to the DOM. We're adding a paragraph, so which you could also still do in your dev tools. But yeah, so we are just going to add in some styles that will be inline that we can just test out what's going on. So we'll say color red, and then we will also say font size, and these should be camel case. When you're talking about React here, we don't do the standard CSS way of having the dash, we do camel case. It's just a slight difference, but all of the CSS properties, attributes, all of the CSS things that you can call out in CSS, like border radius, font size, font width, font weight, you know, all of those things, position, justify content, they can all be used in React as well. We just camel case them instead over here. So there you go. And the font size, let's say 96 pixels. And we'll just move our closing paragraph tag down underneath everything. So let's see if that now makes this button styled in that way. Expected corresponding JSX closing tag for P. Okay, wait. Okay, so Sean did not go and wrap everything in a paragraph like that. Is tags and everything. He just added some text in here. So I think the problem was they're wrapping the paragraph around everything. That these are components in themselves. So like you can't really wrap them in a paragraph is what I think went on there. So what he just did was said big text. I just thought we were going to wrap everything for a minute. So yeah, let's not worry about that. Bada bing, bada boom, big text on the screen. Da 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 da. So yeah, there we go. There's our big text, and we have inline styled it with the style that we've passed through into this object. So perfect. And let's continue. And we'll get rid of that. That was just to show us inline styled. So I'll actually just commit where I am. So, okay, great. So next is coming state and the component lifecycle. This will be a great comparison because Max did such a good job of this. Like, oh, he did such a good job. So, like, now I totally get state, you know, I can use it, which seems like, I don't know, in the first few lessons I was like, wow, this is a big concept. Will I understand this? You know, I remember I did a bit of state and then I had to use state the next day in work, and it seemed so logical during Max's video, and then in work when I was trying to use it I was like, I forget how to use this thing. So, but then as I continued with the 100 days of code and continued with Max's video, now I'm a state whiz kid. I'm a master of state. Like, I wouldn't go that far, but I certainly can use it. I can use it now. So, you know, and even I think of my own use cases for it. So that's sort of what coding is, where you get comfortable enough with something when an opportunity arises to use the right thing, which I wouldn't say I always do, but you know, that's what we're doing, we're learning. Then you think, oh, I think state would be a good place for this, and implementing a state solution where appropriate. So with Max's course, I seen that progression throughout just doing his course. So he taught me how to use state, get comfortable with it, and feel like I could use it in projects. So very interested to see Sean's approach now on such a small course. He's a great teacher, and I already have that background knowledge, so it's not really the same, but hopefully I can look back and think, would I have understood this? You know, that's my intention doing this. So let's see. Cool. So we're going to start off looking at how we use state in components, then look at where's the best place to put state when you're using it in a component, and then look at life cycle events that happen in components as well. So it sounds good. Cool. Okay, cool. So now over in our app.js, everything in here, we're just going to get rid of it because we're going to do our own thing, ding-a-lang. So I'll cut this, move it down here and just comment it out because I actually don't want to delete it. I just want to keep it there for the moment because, you know, we've got some information in it. So now we're going to create a new component in our source directory and call this counter button. So new, I think we do make a project during this, don't we? Routing, learn common React patterns, forms, class-based components. I don't know, I would love if we do actually make that to-do application. I hope we're going to make that. Just it's nice to see something actually being made as opposed to doing little bits of things. But look, the man is doing a full course in 5 hours. There are no complaints. However he can best fit in this content is amazing. It's amazing the pace I'm learning considering this is a 5-hour course. So no complaints, Sean. You know, if you couldn't get a project to work in the 5 hours but yet you showed us all of the concepts, good enough for me. You know, maybe this was a better approach. You know better. So counter button.js, perfect. And then cool. Okay, great. So then we're going to just set up our counter button component. So we'll say export const counter button with a capital C. It should be Lagadies counter button, la 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 button. And then this is going to be an arrow function that's going to return, open up our parentheses, an empty fragment for now. Cool. Alright. And then, cool. And a paragraph tag that says, you have clicked the button, baby. You have clicked the button. And let's add in the baby, seeing as I sang it. So, and then the amount of time. So you have clicked the button 0 times, baby. Oh, funny. And then we want an actual button that's going to say, click me button, click me. I know this is only an hour course. In Max's longer courses, in the longer courses, they should really think about accessibility, teaching accessibility into these courses. Because they're not really ever thinking about that stuff. You shouldn't be a separate course. It should be integral. I'm going to have to keep that in mind and make sure that's how I do my code and really get up on accessibility and not just have this basic knowledge that I have, but learn what do I need to do to integrate it into every single component, every single button, every single, you know, maybe we should do Axe dev testing after we have finished our builds, and really it should be integrated from the beginning. Once you know how, it's the same as making a button, it's the same as making a paragraph. You just add slightly more information and everybody can use your site then. It's only fair. So, you know, I'll have to keep that in mind. And Axe Dev Tools is just a tool that's provided for free in the browser, like any other plugin or tool that you can use, you know, like a color dropper tool or Axe Dev Tools, and they help you find out the accessibility gaps in your project. So I think that I can't expect anybody else to do anything else. I should make sure I'm doing it. That's the only person I'm responsible for. So, point taken. Okay. Okay. And now we can use this. So over in our app.js component, let's import counter button from counter button. Perfect. And then app header. So we will now use this down below. So counter button, we just call out the name of the component and that injects it in there and save. And then if we go back, we should see this paragraph. Button is not defined, should have been a small b. Of course, button is not defined. We need the inbuilt button. Cool, so we have a button, we can click it. We haven't sent anything to update the text, so that's why our text isn't updating, so that's fine. So now we're going to use state to track this button click. Of course we are. Yes. Cool. So he said hooks are still relatively new to React. I came to React late. I've only started to learn it ever since this 100 Days of Code challenge. So apparently beforehand we didn't use hooks. We used class-based components, which we're going to see later on. So stay tuned for that. But hooks is all I know. Yeah. Actually, what would I? Cool, yeah. So what we're going to do now is use state within our button component. So in order to do that, we just import it from React. So if we actually just start typing that we want to use it, we will get this functionality added in. So we'll say const click button or button click, and then we can declare the function that we want to use in order to update this button click variable that we've just created. So set button click, you just put the set name in front of it because you are setting the button click when you use this set button click. So bada bing bada boom baby, this is equal to use state, because that's what we're doing here, using the state to manage this, and use state will be a function that we call. So perfect, let's do that. And it did not automatically update use state or give us the option to do that, so I'll just import it manually. So we import use state from React. Perfect, and yes. So the main reason for hooks is to make it easy for us to use state and use side effects in our React application. The use state hook allows us to add state management to our components. Yep. Okay. Okay, so he said number of clicks and set number of clicks, but that's okay. And he's initializing his state at 0, so he's passing in 0 to begin with. So we've defined two new constants and we have destructured them. This is the, or sorry, we're not destructuring them. This is the array destructuring syntax. And we're using this syntax to create two new variables. Yeah, so the first constant that we define, so the first constant, Mamma mia, first constant is defined, and the second constant is a function to update the first one, the first constant. So what's the first and second constant? Well, the first and second constant in this array. So the first constant is button click. The first constant, button click, is defined in the first position of this array here, of this destructured array. Then the second constant is the function that we use to update the first constant. So that's just sort of what I've been saying in language terms. Like I've said this a few times, so hopefully that makes sense. When we use useState, we create an array, we destructure the items, we use a destructuring syntax, which just means that you have them side by side like that. We're saying useState is equal to these two things. Button click, which is the constant that we are defining, and then the second one is a function that updates the first constant. So if we wanted to change the value of button click, we would go set button click, and we could pass it whatever value we wanted. It's being initialized at the value of 0 here, so we could say, well, why not? We want it to be 6. You know, so that's what's going on there. And then if you console logged out button click, which is just a constant, console log, you would get the value 6. 6 would be shown out here. And if we did this up here before we set the button click constant to a new value of 6, if we console logged out button click before this set, what do you think we would get? It hasn't been changed to anything yet, so we would get the initial value that we set it to, which was 0. So we would get 0. Let's actually just have a look at that, and because this should work like as is, and we should see a console log of 0 and a console log of 6 if I save this now. So let's just undo save, and we can check this out in our console, because why not? I don't think there was anything wrong with that code. Maybe there was, because I was sort of doing it. Too many re-renders. React. I don't know. So there's, yes, I think I need to put it in a function call or something. The above error occurred. Consider ordering. Ah, look, there we go. 66666, and we should have had a 0. There we go, and a 0. So it did work, and then it's been caught in an infinite loop because it just keeps calling this component again and again and again for some reason. What is the reason, baby? I don't know. So what's the reason that that's doing that? And then if we put button click here like this, we would get that value coming out if it wasn't stuck in an infinite loop. Button click. Then on the first iteration we would get 0. On the second iteration we would get... we would get 6. Sorry. I was still just thinking, why is this happening? So I think if I use a use effect will allow this to happen in an isolated fashion. So, or this can't just be actually in the component like this. Oh, I don't know. So let's add this set button click to an actual function that we'll call, and we'll set the button click to the value then. So we will say const change button and equal this to an arrow function. Change button handler, let's say change button handler. So this is the function that's going to run on click of the button, because I'm going to hook it up to the button now. So now I'll add an on click to the button, equal it to this function. In React we just put the name of the function down there, and then once you click it, it goes and runs the function, and we will move this inside. So now when we click the button, that's when we should get our button set. I think this will stop the infinite loop, and also when we click the button now we'll see our new value being sent out to the consoles. And we can also, we have button click down here, so great. So before we start, we initialize this component. We're starting off with a button click value of 0. That's what we've initialized it to with this use state. So then once we render the component on the first initial run, the button click is 0. So we see that on the screen there. You have clicked the button 0 times, baby. Alright, alright. And then if we click the button, and let's have a look at our console actually. So here's our 0. Great, we have our 0 there. Let's get rid of all these errors as well, or warnings I should say. So on app.js we just have a load of unused usings that we're not using anymore. So greeting, people list, and logo. So they were just all giving us little warnings. And what else? Adjective cool isn't being used. Link for href isn't being used. I can actually just delete them. We really don't need them in our code, in our lives. Get out! No, I'm only messing. So now if I reload the page, we only have one error now. So line 4, people is assigned but never used. Yes, so we're not using this anymore at the moment. So I'll just also console or comment that out. And then let's just reload, and we've got rid of a few errors. So grand, we won't worry about this no loan blocks for the moment. So there, we've initialized our counter with 0 using use state. Let's click the button and we update it from 0 to 6. So that's exactly what's happening there. And the reason we have 2 console logs here, and if we click it again, it's still just setting it back to 6. We don't have an increment. It's not coming in and incrementing the state. We just passed it a specific value of 6. So therefore, you know, it's not going to do it for us another way and set this to 7, 8, 9, because that's not the code we put in. We just said on click of the button we're setting it to a specific value. So if we go back to our code now, we'll see why on the initial run we get 0, and then we get 0 and then 6. So if we come back to our counter button, on initial load we console log out this console log statement, which is 0. Then when we click the button, we cause this component to re-render a second time, and as it comes through here and re-renders, it comes in here, it sees the use state. Okay, that's fine, that's already been defined. We have our use state. We come down here, we console log out button click, so that's the current value. It hasn't yet been changed, so that's where we get that second 0 from. Then it comes in here to the change. When we click the button, does it not just come and run this function though? It re-renders the component. State re-renders the component. So it does. It re-renders. So you click the button and it re-renders the component and fires this function as well. It does. And it must do, because we got the first 0 coming out again, which meant that it's hitting this console log, and I know it re-renders the component, so it does. And then it runs this function, and that's where it sets it to 6, which is why we see the 6 then. And on every subsequent click, we don't get an increased value, which we can allow for that. We'll do that now, that when we click the button, it will actually increment. But that's enough of a tangent. Let's just see what Sean has to teach us. So. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're actually going to create a function called increment. increment, and what we want to do, it's just a one line function he's after using here. So we don't need our parentheses when we're doing it all in one statement. So we're going to set button clicks to number of clicks, add 1. So this is all we have to do in order to increment this, or in our case, button click, add 1, and then perfect. So now instead, if we call increment down here, we'll see that that number will actually go up by 1. So just slightly different logic. We're still running a function. This could still have the parentheses around it, you know, if that's easier for you to read. Just because it's one singular line, we can put it all on the same line because there's just one thing happening, one statement. So you can get rid of the curly brackets, but it's not necessary. You can also leave it like this. So that's good to know. And now if we click this button, that's a bit more like the expected behavior that we would expect. I just went off on a bit of a trying to explain use state and make sure that that was understood, and just spoke about for a little bit. So we can just keep on going all day, right up to 1,000,000, baby. No, I won't keep going till 1,000,000, don't worry. Maybe just till 100. No, I have to go. Maybe 101. Cool. There we go. Great. So 101, baby. Super. Now I want to go to another number, but that's okay. Look, no need to just click this button for an hour. Oh, okay. Cool. So now he's just clicking the button too. He went to 4. Oh. Oh, very funny. Okay. Okay, so why do we even bother using use state? Why don't we just add state to our component by doing it the way we normally see these things done if you come from a JavaScript background? So if we console log out this stuff, I mean comment, excuse and what, don't mind me getting it wrong, my alphabet. So if we say let number of clicks equal 0, and then we have our increment function, which is just this. So your girl's gonna copy cause she ain't bothered typing it out again. Yeah. So I'm going to make this a single line function this time, just so you can see it like so. Cool. So this is number of clicks equals number of clicks plus 1. So number of clicks equals number of clicks plus 1. So this is how we would standardly do something like this in JavaScript. And now we're going to find out why this mightn't work. So this is great actually. Like I hadn't even thought like, oh, why are we using use state? Why don't we do something like this? So now I am thinking about that and we'll find out. Okay, so button click isn't defined. That's very, very true. We will get rid of that and we will say number of clicks down here. So now if we save, what's going to happen? Will it explode? Who knows? So number of clicks. Okay, there we go. Button click is not defined. That's all right. Okay, so now, so it doesn't work anyway, first of all, and we don't get any errors. So let's see what Sean has to say. Let's add a console.log statement after our increment to see what's going on in here. So if I open up my parentheses, add a console log after console log number of clicks, and number of clicks is going to go in here. As always, I like to add a little string just so we see the string and then the name of the thing that we're trying to pass out to the console. So then I'll save this, have a little look, reload, click the button. Oh, so it's still incrementing it, but it can't show it back to the page, and this is because, okay, let me try and have a guess. I don't know. Oh my god, this should be apparent, I feel. Now I'm thinking about it too much. Need to think less. Let the inspiration come to my brain. Oh, I really feel like I should know this. Anyway, we're going to learn. Then we'll know it, so it's okay. The state is getting updated, but for some reason the changes aren't being reflected in the DOM because we're not re-rendering the DOM. Yes, we only re-render the DOM if the props change or if the state changes. Is that correct, Sean? But yes, we didn't re-render the DOM, that's why. So in order for React to see that something needs to change in the visual side, React needs to be re-rendered. And then once it's been re-rendered, it passes that new information to React DOM, and React inserts this new item into the DOM so we can actually see it into the document object model, which is just this thing here. So this is the DOM. So it will come and insert a new value in there. But we need to re-render the DOM in order to tell it. And that's only initiated on certain actions in React. We don't just do that for the sake of it. React needs to fire certain events. Then it knows, okay, I better re-render now. And once it's re-rendered, it checks then, is there a difference between the old DOM and the new DOM? And if there is, it passes over this difference to React DOM. So React DOM can then re-render the DOM. So that's why. It's just the way React is set up, and it makes sense. We need to trigger that re-rendering. Okay. And only certain things will trigger it. Cool. Very, very good, Sean, helping me learn. That's great. So he said that this has to do with a very, very crucial detail of React. So this is crucial to React and its operations. This re-rendering segment. React components will only re-render if the value of their props changes. So the value of the props coming into the component changes. Or if the value that we get from any of our hooks changes. Not if just other things change. It needs to be a hook or a prop. So that's how we get the component to re-render. It's how we get the React to update the view on our screens. Cool. Awesome. Oh, so the reason why this is actually a huge strength of React, because if it's only re-rendering in certain instances, it's not just constantly re-rendering, which is slowing things down, I guess, you know. It's deciding to re-render at specific points where stuff may have actually changed that needs to be reflected, and we just make sure that we set up our code in this way that, okay, if this is something that's going to have to be shown on the screen, on the UI, to the people, then we would put it either in a hook or in a prop. So yeah, that makes sense. Cool. If my nails feel in any way chipped, it's not good because I start getting at them. They need to be smooth, so I leave them alone. Okay. Okay, so we'll just go back to using the use state hook now, and then we're going to just take another little look at rendering, how React is rendering things. So we'll go back to as it was, like this, and then no. So let's just go back. All I needed to do was just comment that and that separately, but you know, let's just go back. We're on our way back now, guys. We are on our way backwards through time. Feeling fine. So there we go. Now we have our button click linked back up and our initial set button click function, which is just setting the button click using the state. So perfect, we'll save that. And what we want to do up here is just do a console.log to say that we're rendering this component, so we can see this in the console. So we'll say rendering counter button. So cool, and I'll add a semicolon there. I'll copy this. I'll take out this button click just because we're looking at something else now, and there we go. And then we'll open up our greeting component and add another console log at the top of this one. So here we'll say console log rendering greeting. And then we can use this and see how it's going to actually fire these different components if we call them both from our app.js. So we'll say counter button and greeting. And we need to pass in props to our greeting. So if we go back to our greeting here, we can see that we have two props being passed in, the name and number of messages, which are being destructured straight away. So we can use them by their actual names down in the component. So we need to expect these things. So back in our app.js here, if we say greeting, name, Lily's in the house, Lily, and number of messages. And make this 5 today. We ain't got so many messages, it's a nice relaxed day. And save this now. We need to import greeting as well into this component now that we are reusing it in here. So import, and it's a named component. We exported greeting all in the same line when we were defining the component, so it must go into these curly brackets when you do it like that. When you export constant greeting and then start your React component, you need to then put it into these curly brackets. So from /greeting, everything is in the same line here. We don't have any folders, everything's just being added into source. So from within the same component structure, just go and grab greeting. Perfect. So now this should load. Cool. So if we go to our console, we see here we have rendering counter button. So it rendered the counter button because counter button comes first. So it goes off, it runs this function, it renders it, and then it comes, once it's done that, it comes back and renders greeting. So perfect. That's exactly the behavior we would expect to see, and we see it there. So lovely. Okay, so let's just go and take a look at counter button. Ba-da-da-da. Cool. Okay. All right. Oh yeah, okay, so now if we click the button, let's see what happens then. So when we click the button, we only get rendering counter button because there's nothing that has changed in the greeting to cause this component to be re-rendered. We didn't change the name, we didn't change the number of messages, so that's just informational. It's in the DOM. And yeah, we didn't. We just changed the button click. So we only need to re-render the component where the state is being changed, which is the button click component, or the counter button component, I should say. That's what it's called. But it's handling this button click for us. So bada bing, bada boom, baby. Need lip balm, sorry. Cool. So Sean just said, don't worry if you don't get this yet. We'll be getting a lot more experience throughout the course. Like, this is such a short course. He's really fitting in. I'm so impressed. So if he's saying don't worry about this, we're going to do loads more. Like, absolutely fab. What section are we even on? So now he's just gone back to putting the counter button. We're starting lesson 3 soon. 4, 5, 6. There's only 8 lessons. This is great. Loving this. We're just at the very end of lesson 2. So now we're going to discuss deciding where we should put state within our component. So that's what we're about to do, guys. Stay tuned. Okay. Cool. Yes. So far the only component we have that is doing something with the state is the counter button. Here we have used state from React, and we're keeping the track of the state of the button click. Sometimes my cheeks get like, whoa. I feel like my cheek needs like to be relaxed. Sometimes I feel the muscle in my cheek just being like a muscle, which is so weird. It's in your face, like, how can you feel the muscle in your face? Just like feeling like it's doing a lot of work. And only one side, like this side. Anyway, sorry. So my muscle was just feeling weird, and I was like, what, this again? So the only component that's used in state is our counter button component. So perfect. And we're using state for this component within the component. So you can use state, it doesn't have to be within the component. We use different types of hooks for different types of state management. But if we want to use component based state, where you're just tracking the state of something within that one component, we use state, the use state hook from React. So this is just inbuilt functionality that comes with React. Cool. Yeah, so sometimes you have components that need access to another component state. Okay, so now we're going to create a new component called congratulations message.js. So new file, congratulations message, sounds good to me. Congratulations a message.js. Cool. So we're going to create a new component in here called congratulations message. So we will export. This is what I meant by when you export it all on the one line, then you use the curly brackets if you use this layout here. So export const congratulations message, and this is just going to be an arrow function. Bada bing, bada boom, baby. Yes, and then here we can return something. So return, open up our parentheses, and cool. And the other option, rather than doing it like this, so then you would import this like so in another component. So I'll leave it here and then we can copy it and paste it over. So you would import congratulations message like this. From, now this shouldn't be in here, but I'm going to comment this out, from congratulations message. And then if we instead exported this file down at the bottom like this, export default congratulations message, which is another way to do it. You wouldn't have this export here, you just export the default export from this file, and then if you wanted to import it, you would import it without the brackets because it's not a named export. So you just import it like this. You can change the name of the import when you import it. But I actually love Sean's approach of exporting it straight away on the same line. I really like it because you're just saving, you know, 3 words for the sake of 1 word. So there you go. Cool. So now he's just setting up his component like we've already done. But he's also using props and destructuring them as they come in. So saying what the props are up in here by adding them into an object. So the props that we're going to take into this component are number of clicks. So what's going to happen is once we reach 10 clicks, we're going to show a congratulations message, which means that we need to know the state of our counter button. So we are sending the state of one component outside of that component to congratulations message. So once we get to 10 clicks, then we show congratulations, you reached 10. So we'd be there all day getting to 101 like me, although it didn't actually take that long. So number of clicks, and then we'll use a different setup for state management when we're using it across components. So that's what we are being shown at the moment. Cool. So we have a props called number of clicks and another one called threshold. Threshold. Okay. And then we're going to use them down below. Okay, so he loves doing things so minimally, which is great. Like, who doesn't, you know? So he's actually not using the normal parentheses here, just your standard parentheses, because he's just returning one statement again. So, like, I love this. So, you know, I'm just learning things. I just hope for a newbie that it wouldn't be confusing. You know, going through the more long-winded approach and then seeing this is very, very, very valuable. Whereas if you just started off with this and then you were trying to create bigger components and they hadn't got the parentheses, you might not know why it wasn't working then. So that's something to be considered. But anyway, so if number of clicks is greater than or equal to the threshold, we want to, so this is a ternary, this is going to be the true case, we want to show a H1, congratulations baby, congratulations, you reached the threshold. So then we're going to show our second prop here when we come down here, and that's what we're going to do. And then we have the or statement. In the case that it's false, we just show nothing. So if you haven't reached 10, you ain't, no, I'm only messing. Oh man. So then we can use this in our app.js component. So, excuse me, throat got a bit dry. Okay, so then we can use this over here in our app.js. So we will import our congratulations message. And guys, it's looking like we're 30 seconds away from the hour. So congratulations message from congratulations message, as you've seen me do in the other place. I meant to actually just copy and paste, but oh well, it takes no time. And I'll just get rid of this people array because we are not using it and it's in my way. And then we can use this down below. And we also want to import, yeah, we have counter button, cool. So we'll show our congratulations message above our counter button. And we're going to need to pass in those props that it's going to be expected. We'll get rid of our greeting. We don't need that for now. Do you not have an error saying like you need props? Oakley dokley. Oh. Cool, yeah. So then, in our congratulations message, we can set the in our app, sorry, when we're calling our congratulations message, we can set the threshold to, let's say, 10. But then, okay, so we have that. But now, in our congratulations message, how do we actually find the number of clicks from the counter button? And that's what we're going to continue it next time. Stay tuned, guys, to 100 Days of Code with me, Lilly Code, where we code together, have a bit of a laugh, and I talk you through all the concepts that I'm learning. I explain it in their words and in mine. So, you know, I really hope that you are enjoying getting a laugh or whatever value you're getting. I hope you're getting some value. So thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Have an absolutely wonderful day. Yesterday I put my heart down here and you couldn't see it, so I'm putting my heart up here. So thanks so much for joining me, guys. Appreciate it. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. So peace, love, be kind, be good, be yourself. Go out there and live your life. Or stay in bed, whatever makes you happy. See you later, guys. Bye.